Hello and welcome to my channel, and welcome to somewhere in Devon. Don't know where we are actually. We're on a little bit of an adventure today. My wife's friend told us to get a bus from Totnes towards Salcombe and then to get off at a place where there's not even a bus stop. So we had to ask the driver to drop us off specifically here. As we left the bus, he said to us, "It's a hell of a walk down there, you know. Do you know where you're going?" Anyway, we're taking a risk and we're not following any particular route, but we're hoping to find some nice scenery and some nice beaches and to share some of that with you. So these windy, narrow lanes are becoming very much a feature of my hikes and my videos. I hope you don't get fed up of them. So I've been thinking lately about something that I've been meaning to finish for almost a year now, and that I've been working on for, oh gosh, probably 20 years. No, maybe not quite that long, but nearly 20 years. And that's my memoir. So I've written this book, sent it out to my family for review about 1 year ago, and it's been sitting there all this time waiting to be finished and published. And I've had a lot of other things on over this last year, so I've not got round to doing what needs to be done. But I thought I'd talk to you a little bit about this during this hike, because there's been about 3 things maybe recently that have made me think about this and that have given me the push that I needed, or the inspiration that I needed, whichever way you look at it, to knuckle down and get this job completed so that I can then focus on other things. So these 3 things that I mentioned, the first is an operation that I'm due to have. The second is a event I went to with the author Stephanie Austin, and the third is a little chat I had with my barber. So yeah, I'll talk about those 3 things and explain to you how they have inspired me to take this final step with my book and finish it off. I'll be having my operation in 4 days' time. I'll have my prostate removed, and then I will need to wear a catheter for maybe a week to 10 days afterwards, and then there's going to be a period where I'll need to take it easy. So it got me thinking about some of the things that are going on in my life, and just silly things like I want to just tidy up some of the administrative tasks that we've still got in progress as a result of moving to England from Germany. So I'm just working on some of that. And then there's my personal projects, and this one in particular, the book that I've been writing, but also my YouTube channel. There's some little bits and pieces I want to tidy up with those. And for some reason, as a result of this operation, they've just come to the forefront of my mind as a priority, and also as an opportunity. So when I am resting at home after the operation, I won't be able to go out hiking and making these videos like I am today. So I thought this could give me an opportunity to do some of those projects that are more suited to being done inside. So yeah, so that's the first thing, the operation. Second thing, we went to an event at our local Baptist church organised by the U3A group. So the U3A, it's a nationwide, actually I think it's even international, but it's an organisation that helps people who are retired to get out and meet people and learn new things. So I've mentioned before that I currently attend a German speaking group, and a book club, and my wife attends an art club, and there are lots of other groups. I think there's about, in our town, there's about 600 members, so I'm really impressed with it. And anyway, this organisation, the U3A, arranged for a local author, Stephanie Austin, her name is, to come to our Baptist church, and she spent about 1 hour talking to us about her career and about her books that she's written. They're all it's a crime series about murders in the Dartmoor area, and it was fascinating listening to her. She read a passage from her book. She told us some stories. She was funny, she was interesting, she was charismatic, and I really enjoyed spending that hour in her company and listening to her talking about this stuff. And it certainly left me feeling like I need to go home and finish off my book, and maybe once I've done that and published it, to dust down this old novel that I started writing years ago and see if there's something in that could be worth pursuing. Alright, so those are the first two things. The third thing then was about my chat with the barber. Now, a bit of context in terms of my memoir first of all. So I started writing this book in my 40s when I was having a little bit of a midlife crisis, I think. I was struggling to adapt to life in the southeast of England. Got a job with a new company, I'd been promoted, and I was generally struggling with that, even though it was an absolutely gorgeous town we lived in. We met wonderful people, I had a great job, but despite all that, I was suffering a little bit. So one year when I was in Brittany on holiday, I decided to start writing about my life, and I really enjoyed the process of that. But what I realised was there was not much foundation to it. I didn't really know much about my origins, about the stories of my parents and how they met and their lives before I came along. By the time I'd started writing this book, my father had already died, and I was living away from the West Midlands, so I didn't have so much contact with my family. And so I felt very frustrated, and I just had this sort of empty piece of paper that contained everything I knew about my family, and I had to really work hard to develop something there. Researching my family history became a real passion of mine, and I went to lots of parties, family parties, and chatting with uncles and aunties and my mother, and over the course of the next decade I accumulated lots of emails, letters, and I've discovered that my mum, my dad and my nan had all written lots and lots of notes about their own lives and childhoods. And so I was able to pull all this together and put it into my book and really understand where I came from, how I got to where I am, why I'm like I am. There's all sorts of things I learned about myself and my origins from this process. And consequently, this book there's probably half of it is about my life. It would be like a typical sort of autobiography, but half of it is about the lives of my ancestors. And there's even some sections about little bits about the lives of my children, because of the fact that we all went to live abroad, and that was a kind of an adventure we went on together as a family. So that means this book is about 5 generations of my family, from my Victorian great-grandparents through to my children today. Yeah, so quite a lot of my book is set in Birmingham, and a large part of that is in the period after the First World War, up to and including the Second World War, and then about my parents' childhoods in the 40s and 50s. And I love that aspect of my book. I find it very interesting. It makes me feel like I belong somewhere, and it makes me feel connected with my parents and grandparents who are no longer with us. Although when I wrote the book and when I read the book, I feel like they are still with us in a way. So anyway, I told my barber about this, or a little bit about this book, and every time I go in now he says, "How's the book going?" And yesterday he started telling me about his memories of living in Birmingham. So he's only a couple of years younger than my parents would be. So he remembers Birmingham during that period after the war. So here we are, off to South Milton Sands. So my barber told me when he was young he was scared of dogs. And the reason for this is that many people in Birmingham lost everything, lost their homes, food was scarce, so they were on rations, and the residents of the city, or many of the residents, were in a desperate situation, and so they simply couldn't afford to look after or keep their dogs. And consequently, there were lots of dogs roaming around these bomb sites, having to fend for themselves, and they organised themselves into packs, and that meant they were rather intimidating, perhaps even a little bit dangerous if you were to come across them. Then the second thing he told me about was before the war there was a row of terraced houses, and in the middle of these terrace houses was a pub. So the actual building, the pub building, was the same as a terrace house, but inside was a small bar. And after the war, what he remembers about this is that the houses on either side of the pub were destroyed and flattened, and all that was left standing was this pub, which, as it happens, probably quite typical of the time actually, it had a ceramic tiled front, and he likened it to a tooth. So you can imagine an old man who's all his teeth are gone except one tooth that's standing, and that's what this pub was like. And I thought that was quite funny. And what they did was they propped it up with some wooden structure to try and stop the whole thing from collapsing. Then the third little scene that he painted for me was, he said, in another street, again there was a row, before the war there was a row of terraced houses, and after the war was just the front of a single house. So this house, this wall, it had the front door, and the door was still in operation, still usable, but there was no side walls, no back wall, and no roof, and then all the houses to the sides were in ruins. And every night a tramp would come along, open the front door, go inside, close the front door and settle down for the night there. And I found that quite funny, quite sad, quite touching, quite interesting. And maybe, I don't know, he didn't say this, but I just wonder whether maybe actually the house once belonged to the tramp and actually he was going home. Yeah, so as a result of those three things I've mentioned, my operation, the book talk, the book event I went to, and my chat with the barber, I'm feeling really motivated now to finish off my book. Look at it, isn't that lovely, eh? It was supposed to be clear blue skies today, so sorry about the clouds, but that is rather typical of England. Never quite know what you're going to get. But by our standards here, this is a very nice February day. Last weekend I went to watch Bournemouth play Wolverhampton Wanderers, and my daughter and her boyfriend got me tickets, and I went along and we hired a car. We don't have a car, so we hired a car, drove over to Bournemouth, stayed at her house for the night, and I had an absolutely fantastic day. For all my years of following the Wolves, it was the first time I'd ever seen them play in the Premier League. Wolves won, which helped. The ground is just magnificent. It's only small, about 11,000 spectators, but that creates a real nice community atmosphere. Outside the ground there's a large space, a large area. It's a bit like a fan zone, so they've got a big screen with another Premier League game on that was being played earlier in the day, and there were lots of different stalls where you could get beer or hot dogs, paella, or various other foods, pizzas I think, and I actually managed to get myself a vegan hot dog, which was delicious, and had myself a pint of bitter, and the sun was shining, and it just felt wonderful really. You know, it was safe, it was friendly, and we were with the Bournemouth fans, but we were also in the press area, so there were some seats that weren't being used by the press, and we sat there. So I'll show you a little clip now. We were right next to the Wolves fans, which was nice. So I was under strict instructions to behave myself, but I couldn't help but show my delight when Wolves scored, and when the final whistle went. I was told the police had their eye on me because they would normally they would throw you out for celebrating when you're in the wrong end of the ground. This is just one of the nicest walks we've been on since coming back to England. I think we've discovered our favourite part of Devon so far. It's taken us 4 or 5 months to get here. Didn't even know it existed before this morning, but I'm blown away by its magnificent beauty. Look at these. Imagine eating your evening meal in these, or having a drink in these, what do you call them, pods, overlooking the sea. Okay, well, I think I've talked enough on this video. I hope I can make something reasonable during the editing process, because I feel like I've been waffling on a lot. So sorry about that. As always, I hope you're well wherever you are. I am very grateful to you for taking an interest in my channel, for watching my videos, for all of those of you who comment, subscribe or like. It really helps me to continue pursuing this little project of mine. So yeah, look after yourselves. I'll post another video soon. There might be a little bit of a break because of me going to have my operation, but I'll catch up with you soon. Thanks then, bye.